Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to do my review of AEW's Dynamite. Starting off tonight, we have a video package. Video package was shown of what Moxley did in the fallout at All Out. Moxley says that he chooses war with the altercation of what's going on with AEW as well as Bryan Danielson. So I thought that was very interesting to start the show last night. After that, we have a patriarchy segment. Cage comes out to the ring. He is joined with the patriarchy as well as Tony Schiavone. Cage says that he's carried AEW on his back. Cage hypes up Killswitch. Cage also says that Bryan Danielson's days as a world champion are numbered. And then Cage mocks Danielson as he leaves the ring. Looks like Christian Cage has his sights set on the AEW World Championship. Moving on from that, we go to our first official match of the night. It's for the TNT title. It is Jack Perry defending the TNT title versus Lio Rush. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Perry and Rush, with Rush hitting a springboard Hurricane Rana on Perry. Rush then hits Spanish Fly for a near fall. Rush hits a Poison Rana, but Perry hits a running knee on Rush, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and still TNT champion is Jack Perry. Hats off to Jack Perry for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we have what I thought was going to be a 6-man tag team matchup. Commander and Private Party come out to the ring, but they are quickly attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club. Match ends up turning into a no contest, and then we have a Blackpool Combat Club segment. Pac grabs the microphone. Pac says that AEW is broken and that the company is theirs. Same thing that Jon Moxley reiterated to Tony Schiavone a couple weeks ago, that the company is no longer theirs. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Ricochet versus Sammy Guevara. I thought this was a great match. It's a back and forth matchup between Ricochet and Guevara, with Ricochet keeping the pace of the match. Guevara hits a moonsault off the stage structure, taking out Ricochet. Ricochet gets up, hits a senton off the barricade, taking out Guevara. Guevara then gets up, hits a Canadian Destroyer on Ricochet, but Ricochet hits the finish on Guevara, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Ricochet. After the match, Mortos comes out to the ring and quickly attacks Ricochet. Looks like Mortos is going to be the next challenger to Ricochet. Definitely looking forward to that matchup between Ricochet and possibly Mortis. Moving on from that, we have Darby Allin. Darby Allin comes out to the ring. Darby Allin was shown in the beginning of the show coming, through the parking lot on a skateboard. And a lot of people were wondering what Darby Allin was going to say due to the fact that Jon Moxley has been calling him out. Darby Allin comes down to the ring, grabs a microphone, and just waits for Jon Moxley. Moxley ends up showing up with Marina Shafir. Darby talks about his life and praises AEW and what AEW has done for him in his life. Darby then praises Moxley, says that he wanted to be a wrestler just like Moxley. Darby talks about their first match together. Moxley tells Darby that he is not ready for the World Championship. Moxley then asks Darby to give him his title opportunity to Moxley. And it looks like we're going to have Darby versus Moxley at Grand Slam for Darby's title opportunity. Moving on from that, we have our next match of the night. It's a TBS title eliminator matchup. It is Mariah May versus Queen Aminata. I thought it was a decent match, back and forth matchup. May was keeping the pace throughout the match. Mariah May and Aminata were exchanging in the middle of the ring, with May hitting a Storm Zero on Queen Aminata, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match is Mariah May. Hats off to Mariah May for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the Learning Tree versus the Iron Savages. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Learning Tree keeping the pace of the match. Learning Tree ultimately hits the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Learning Tree. After the match, Jericho grabs a microphone, talks about Orange Cassidy destroying his jacket 4 years ago, saying that he wants his money back. Jericho then shows what was inside Orange Cassidy's backpack, which was a picture of Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. Looks like Jericho is still trying to shoot jabs on Orange Cassidy, but Cassidy was actually shown on the Titantron. He's also joined with Mark Briscoe and O'Reilly when they were in a forklift, if you will, or a backhoe, if you want to call it that. And Briscoe and O'Reilly were driving towards Jericho's brand new Bentley filled with coins. And Mark Briscoe and O'Reilly pour coins all over Jericho's brand new car, which I thought was absolutely hilarious and a nice touch to this whole storyline, if you will, between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. Moving on from that, we have Nigel McGuinness. Now, before McGuinness came out to the ring, McGuinness told Christopher Daniels that he had some news, and this is what that news was. Nigel comes out to the ring. He mocks Bryan Danielson. Nigel talks about Grand Slam and how Danielson won't be defending the AEW World title. Instead, it looks like it will be Nigel McGuinness finally getting his payback match, if you will, revenge match against Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. This was probably one of the best moments of the night last night, in my honest opinion. Definitely looking forward to Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. And then moving on from that, we have the main event of Dynamite. It is the Tag Team Casino Gauntlet match. I thought it was an okay matchup. FTR were the first team. After that, Ospreay and Fletcher were the next team. It was a good match back and forth. Ospreay hits a Hurricane Rana. Dax hits a Liger Bomb. Ospreay and Fletcher were keeping the pace. The Righteous are the next team, as well as Taven and Bennett. Bennett hits a Death Valley Driver. Acclaimed are the next team, as well as the Maximum Models. They're the next team as well. Top Flight comes out to the ring. FTR hit a Shatter Machine. The Outrunners are here. The crowd goes crazy, as well as the Grizzled Young Veterans. And Ospreay hits a Hidden Blade. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match and new #1 contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships are Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Couple of things I want to talk about, man, with Dynamite. It might be a hot take for most people, but this is going to be a little bit of a rant, man. I thought Dynamite last night was absolute shit, to be honest with y'all, man. I thought the way they put AEW together was literally, Tony Khan putting up some ideas, throwing up against the wall, hoping something would stick. And that's pretty much what it was last night. I thought it was an awful show. There was some small parts of the show that I did appreciate. I appreciated Nigel McGuinness coming out to the ring to finally get a rematch with Bryan Danielson. If Danielson is healthy and 100% ready to go, I'm all for that matchup. I think that matchup's going to be great. I think when Nigel McGuinness came out during the Casino Gauntlet match for All In, he did absolutely fantastic. He was great. Looks like he hasn't even lost a step. So I would love nothing more to see Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. I think it would be absolutely awesome. But all in all, man, I mean, Dynamite last night just did not hit, I think, for a lot of people. And, to be honest with you, the Jon Moxley thing, it is confusing. I'll say that. Because, obviously his intentions were calling out Darby Allin. And now we have Darby Allin finally acknowledging what the hell Jon Moxley wants, and it looks like there's going to be a matchup between Darby and Jon Moxley. If I had to predict the situation with Darby Allin, to me, Darby Allin, I believe Wrestle Dream is coming up in October 12th, and I think it's out of Tacoma, Washington. I think that's like, the old stomping grounds, if you will, or at least that state for Darby Allin. I think there would be a great way for Darby Allin to possibly be the one to beat Bryan Danielson in the state of Washington, and it's a high-profile matchup. Two guys are from Washington. Darby Allin definitely could be a face of this company. He's been, one of the originals, so I think Darby Allin might be the one that will dethrone Bryan Danielson. But then you can also look at the other side of the coin. You can look at Jon Moxley beating Bryan Danielson, beating Darby Allin, getting the opportunity to face his friend, if you will, Bryan Danielson, one of his partners in the Blackpool Combat Club, and Moxley beats Bryan Danielson and finishes his full-time in-ring career, and Moxley becomes a new AEW World title. There's multiple ways that you can look at that. But the storyline itself is definitely has a lot of different ways they can go about it. I mean, the whole AEW is broken, and, this is not their company anymore. I'm intrigued, like I said last week, man, I'm intrigued to how this is going to play out. But I do have my worries. I really do, because, if you look at it, you look at the situation with the Young Bucks and the Elite and Tony Khan. And when Jack Perry came back and attacked Tony Khan, that was a big deal. That was big business. And they started it off with a bang. And then you got 2 matches. You got Anarchy in the Arena, and then you got a Steel Cage match. And now it looks like that's all, the end-all, be-all. That story's done. And no one knew really where that story was going. And I'm hoping that the situation with Jon Moxley is not similar to what happened with the Elite and Tony Khan. And hopefully it doesn't. I still believe that we will see Shane McMahon at some point. I think if the story writes itself. I'm not sitting here saying that, Shane coming in and this is, the Mean Street Posse 2.0. No, I'm not saying that. But I think it is a little ironic how everybody in the stable, everybody so far, is former WWE talent. From Moxley to Shafir to Pac to Claudio are all former WWE talent. So Shane kind of coming in and doing this invasion angle and aligning himself up with Jon Moxley just fits perfectly. But it's still yet to be seen, man. I mean, hopefully we will see Shane. And I think it's something AEW needs. I think right now it's the best story they got, if you want to call it that, right now in AEW. And like I said, we're getting continuation of what's going on with Moxley. Obviously, Darby finally answers Jon Moxley last night. But, I mean, the show in itself, all in all, do I think it was a good show? No, man. I don't. They come off a really high with All Out. All Out delivered. And yeah, a lot of people are not going to agree with what happened with the Page and Swerve match. And yeah, I even said there was other ways they could have gone about it if you really wanted to change things up. And what happened with Bryan Danielson. Obviously, a lot of fans are going to be frustrated with that. And some people are not going to like what happened or what was condoned at All Out when it pertained to Swerve and Page and the situation with Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. Me, personally, as a fan, I thought the show was great. I thought everything they did was top-notch, and it definitely surpassed limitations of what I thought they were going to do, especially with Swerve and Page and Bryan Danielson. Nobody thought Moxley was going to turn on Danielson and do what he did, or Page taking it to that next level and what he did with Swerve. But the thing of it is with AEW, and and this is, again, a couple things. I understand Swerve taking some time off, and I understand MJF taking some time off, but unfortunately with this company, the issue is that they don't know how to build up talent. And when they do decide to give talent an opportunity and a chance, and those talents start building themselves up individually, like Swerve and Garcia and MJF, when they take time off, it is detrimental to the company because of the momentum they have. I'm not saying that those guys don't deserve time off, especially Swerve. Swerve's been a workhorse for AEW, absolutely. And that was a hell of a match they had with Page in that steel cage match. But when these men and women take time off that, the company kind of wraps themselves around, it is detrimental to the company because fans want to see Swerve and MJF. MJF taking time off, I was actually kind of surprised by because, one, the match he had with Garcia wasn't that bad. And he just came back from a lengthy injury that he was out for a long-ass time. I mean, you're talking, Wrestle Dream in December, I think he was away, or January. I felt like he just came back a couple months ago. So it's not like I'm a little thrown off about why he's taking time off. And obviously there's still people that are out that would be great to see them come back. I mean, Keith Lee, Adam Cole is a big one, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi. I mean, there's still names out there that are still missing in action that we still want to see. And hopefully we will get a chance, an opportunity to see those superstars back in action. I mean, you got the Best Friends also. They're also out too with injury and stuff like that. So, again, it'll be great to see them back. Julia Hart, you know what I mean? She was the face of the House of Black. She was the only person that stable was actually AEW was doing anything with, which is a shame. Not trying to take anything away from Julia Hart. I think she's great, but I mean, House of Black is a team. They're just a powerhouse. You got Buddy Matthews, Brody King, and Malachi Black. Those guys should have been multi-time trios champions, in my honest opinion. Absolutely. But all in all, man, like I said, I mean, AEW Dynamite last night just wasn't, it didn't fire on all cylinders for me. I'm not saying that they need to have, an awesome show every single week, but if you watched last night, you can tell why the ratings are the way they are. It just, Tony Khan is not Mr. Episodic Television Dynamite every single week to improve the ratings. No, Tony Khan is Mr. Pay-Per-View. And I will give Tony Khan all the credit in the world. His pay-per-views are phenomenal. From top to bottom, they're fantastic. And, even with the card that he put on for All Out, he still got a bunch of flack and a bunch of bullshit from some certain fans out there that were pissed off with what happened at All Out. Me as a fan, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Was a little bit over the top. Yeah, I even said that it kind of gave off GCW vibes. Not trying to take anything away from GCW or discredit GCW. I think GCW is awesome. I think is it ECW? No, I was a huge fan of ECW growing up, but this is the hardcore wrestling that we're getting now. And if you're a fan of that type of wrestling, then by all means, go for it. You know what I mean? That's the vibe I got from Adam Page and the Swerve match, at least at the end. But fans might not like that, And if you don't, then you don't. But to me, I mean, Tony Khan did everything that he could with the 2-week span that he had to build up towards All Out. And at least 3 matches off that card were bangers. Willow, Stat, banger. Ospreay, Pac, banger. And then you got Swerve and Page, a banger. And if you want to throw Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry in it, that's fine. Especially what happened at the end of that match. Sure. All Out was great. I think All Out was better this year than it definitely was last year. Absolutely. But their episodic television is definitely hurting. And especially if they keep going this route, it's going to continue to get bad. The other things I want to talk about with AEW that I don't know if you guys do know or not is AEW's TV deal and a possible new show that might be coming down the pike for AEW. So let's talk first about the TV deal with AEW. From what I understand, and some people that I talked to, and the information that I got, is that the TV deal with Time Warner and Warner Media, or Warner Brothers Discovery, has come to an end. Not in a bad way. It seems like AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery has reached a deal. Now, the numbers have not come out yet, how much money they're going to get, how long of an extension they're going to get on their contract, but it looks like, from what I've gathered and the friends that I've talked to, that AEW has signed a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, what does this mean? Obviously, it seems like AEW is going to be sticking around with Warner Brothers Discovery, and Dynamite and Collision are going to be on TBS and TNT, which is great. AEW's home is with Warner Brothers Discovery. That was their first TV deal, and I'm glad that they're sticking out with them. But does this also include HBO Max? And from what I gathered, this new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, from what I understand, does also include HBO Max and pay-per-views and events going over to HBO Max, which is a huge deal. Now, for people like myself that have HBO Max, it's great. You know, you get to watch the events, stuff like that. It brings a little bit more spotlight to AEW, and it gets a lot more fans to purchase or subscribe to the HBO Max app to watch these pay-per-views. I think it's great. I think, and I've stressed this for months now, where HBO Max needs to be a part of this TV deal, and their pay-per-views need to go to HBO Max. I mean, AEW right now is looking at, 7 or 8 pay-per-views a year. This is something where AEW needs to, have their pay-per-views on HBO Max, and it looks like we're going to get that with this new TV deal, which is absolutely great. Not only for AEW, but as well as, HBO Max, and getting new eyeballs on the product for AEW. This is a huge deal for AEW. The other thing I want to talk about is AEW's Shockwave. This made the headlines the other day. This made the news that Tony Khan had, recently filed a trademark for AEW Shockwave. Now, a lot of people were speculating what this could be. Is this a new show, or is this a new pay-per-view concept coming down the pike for AEW? Now, really nobody at this juncture, at this point, really truly know what Shockwave is going to be all about. Is it going to be a new show, or is it going to be a new pay-per-view in the pay-per-view calendar for AEW? In my personal opinion, again, this is just my opinion, this is going to be a new show for AEW. And the reason why I'm saying that is just the way it's starting to feel in some of the news that's coming out about Shockwave, which is not a lot. It looks like Shockwave is going to become another show for AEW. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the fact that with this new show, possibly, AEW and Tony Khan has also been in talks with Fox Sports, where this deal with Time Warner or Warner Media or Warner Brothers Discovery might not be that exclusive to a point where Tony Khan cannot work with another cable entity if he decides to do so. This could be something where we had Dynamite, Collision, and then AEW Shockwave could possibly be on Fox, because Fox is no longer in the WWE market anymore. They're not doing business with WWE. Maybe Fox wants to stay in the wrestling business and pay AEW a lot lesser money than what we're paying WWE to bring them into the fold with Fox and present AEW with a new show, being AEW Shockwave on Fox. That's what I'm getting at with this. I don't think this Shockwave thing is a pay-per-view. I think it is a new show. And if I had to guess, and again, this is just my opinion, it could be a pay-per-view for all we know, but in my opinion, this is another show for AEW that might be on a different network, might be on Fox. And if I had to, be Tony Khan for 5 seconds and how I would book this show or where I would put this show at, I would scrap Rampage. Absolutely. I would scrap Rampage, and Rampage would be no more. Rampage is a dead concept. It means nothing. It's Elevation or AEW Dark 2.0. It's not needed. I would use Friday nights for Shockwave, at a 8 to 10 time slot. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, they're running on the days of the week. I mean, you got Saturday, you got Collision, and Wednesday, you got Dynamite. One of those days, you're going to have to fall on a day and be live on one of those days that you're going to go head-to-head with WWE. It's just going to happen. Whether it's a Monday night Shockwave, or Tuesday night, and you're going head-to-head with NXT, or, maybe even Thursday night Shockwave. I don't know. Maybe they're going to do something like how WCW did back in the day with Monday Night Nitro, and then Thursday you got WCW Thunder. I don't know if they're going to do that, especially being back-to-back with Dynamite and then having Shockwave possibly for Thursday. If I had to assume, I would think that Dynamite would stay on Wednesday nights, and then AEW Shockwave, if it is a TV show, would be AEW Shockwave on Friday nights from the 8 to 10 time slot. Regardless of how you look at this, there's probably going to be a good chance that if this is a new show, that they will be going head-to-head with WWE on the weekly episodic television, whether it's Raw and it's on Mondays, Tuesday nights for NXT, or Friday night SmackDown. It's going to happen. If this is going to be a new show for AEW, then obviously they're going to be going head-to-head with WWE, whether it's Raw, NXT, or SmackDown. That just makes the most sense. You're not going to have a wrestling show on a Sunday. It's pointless, and they're not going to get anything now, especially with the NFL season now around, and the games are on Sunday. It's a dumb business move to do that. I don't see it. Obviously, they already have Collision for Saturday. They're not going to double dip and do 2 shows in one day. So, to me, it seems like Friday night Shockwave would be the most appealing decision, and I would scrap Rampage. To be honest with you, Rampage is a dead concept. It doesn't do anything. The other thing I want to factor into with this possible HBO Max deal, does this mean that the library will also be a part of this HBO Max deal? There's a lot of questions with this new TV deal that have not been answered yet. But if I had to guess, I would say hopefully they would. Even Ring of Honor for that point. I would put Ring of Honor on HBO Max. Why not? Make HBO Max your streaming hub, if you will. Everything. All the former pay-per-views to the future pay-per-views, special events, stuff like that. Yeah. Absolutely. And not with all due respect, they're going to strike the irons hot if they decide to do that. It's a win-win situation for AEW as well as Warner Brothers Discovery by putting on events on HBO Max. It's a big, big deal. But like I said, man, all in all, Dynamite as a whole last night, it just wasn't that great. It was probably one of the worst episodes of Dynamite, not counting the Jon Moxley, Darby Allin situation. The tag team Casino Gauntlet match, are you kidding me? What tag team division? The tag team division is nothing at this point. Literally. And if you think there's a division for AEW's tag team, you've lost your mind. I'm sorry. With the utmost respect, I'm sorry. Because there's no tag team division. There's no spotlight around the tag team division. The Young Bucks haven't done shit with those belts at all. Honestly. And, with all due respect to Will Ospreay, I appreciate him winning the match, but does he need to be in the tag team title scene? Absolutely not. To me, it was just a bad business decision to put Ospreay with Fletcher to win that championship or get an opportunity for the tag team belts. It's way too much. To me, after what happened at All Out and Ospreay and Ricochet getting face-to-face backstage, they need to focus on that. And then Ospreay needs to defend the international title until we get to Ricochet and Ospreay possibly at Wrestle Dream in October. That's what I would have done, and had Ospreay defend the international title. Absolutely. I would not put him in the tag team division. There's no tag team division, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, if you look at the narrative, you can look at Penta and Phoenix. They're good as gone, man. They're leaving to WWE. Pac is no longer with the Death Triangle. He's aligned himself up with Moxley and his new team. Phoenix and Penta are as good as gone. As good as gone. They will probably be either on NXT or the main roster moving forward. The Motor City Machine Guns, again, another great tag team. Former TNA Tag Team Champions. They're on their way to NXT as we speak, and they're on their way there to debut with NXT, which is a big, big deal. And that working relationship with TNA and NXT is working out very, very well for both parties, especially NXT. So it's a big deal. Jordan Grace just had a title defense last night, Tuesday night, I believe, for NXT Open Challenge, I believe it was, against Sol Ruka. So it was a big deal for NXT. You know what I mean? And honestly, for what it's worth, maybe I overshadowed NXT and what they were doing, to be honest with you, because right now, compared to what NXT did to AEW, NXT did a lot better than AEW, in my honest opinion, not counting what the Moxley and Darby Allin segment was. Other than that, there was nothing out of Dynamite last night that was even worth even really truly talking about, to be honest. I mean, everybody wants to know what Jon Moxley's doing, and we kind of got indication on what he wanted with Darby Allin, and now we got a match for Darby Allin's AEW World Title contract. And if Moxley wins, he becomes a new number one contender, I guess, if you want to call it that, for a possible AEW World Championship opportunity down the line. Even though Christian Cage has that same opportunity right now to cash in to become new World AEW champion. Seems like you got yourself in a pickle there, to be honest with you. But, like I said, man, all in all, it's just... Tony Khan, like I said, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but Tony Khan and AEW, Tony Khan is Mr. Pay-Per-View. His pay-per-views are amazing. Episodic television, though, not so much. And it was the pure example of that last night. Besides Darby and Moxley, there really wasn't any direction of really what they were going to do. I mean, they got tag teams, and Bucks are going to defend the belts. Great. Fantastic. And what, they're going to beat Ospreay and Fletcher, and then they're going to put the tag team belts on the shelf for another 4 months? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, everybody hypes with the Young Bucks, but they're crippling the company more than they're actually making the company better. I mean, and that's the truth, and it's sad. It really is. I mean, I told you guys this last week, that the AEW that we all once known and we all fell in love with is not the same AEW that we're seeing now. Not even close, man. You know, and to be honest with you, truthfully, as a fan, I have not been invested in AEW as far as storyline base is concerned since the build-up and match of Sting's final retirement match. Not trying to take anything but Bryan Danielson. Danielson's, Final Countdown storyline has been great. But that was the last time where I was like, every single moment, every single match, I was invested in, because it's Sting, and his retirement match I thought was one of the greatest retirement matches of all time. Having his family involved, and Darby and Sting doing the things that he did in that ring at the age that he was. I mean, I still think Sting can go for another 5 years with the amount of shit he did in AEW. So, I mean, and again, I told you guys this too, even after the All In review I did, that the time we saw Sting, that wasn't probably the last time we saw Sting. And to be honest with you, I can see Sting being a part of the situation here with Darby Allin and Jon Moxley in some kind of capacity, possibly. Or maybe Darby's outnumbered, Sting comes out to save Darby Allin once again from an attack. I can totally see that happening. I would love to see Sting back in AEW in some kind of capacity, but again, that's just me being a fan. And, everybody that's a fan of wrestling wants to see this happen or that happen. It'd be awesome to see Sting come back and wrestle for AEW, but I know that might not ever happen again. But, all in all, man, like I said, AEW, it went from a really high to a really low. And what I mean by that is, All Out was great. We get to the episode after pretty much All Out, and it is a dumpster fire. I mean, it's not like, you go from All Out to, Dynamite, and it's just not, I don't know, man. I mean, I really don't know. And to be honest with you, if this is going to continue to happen with AEW Dynamite, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. They need to pick up the pace. Obviously, everybody's invested in Jon Moxley's storyline. But as of last night, that was pretty much the only thing we got storyline based out of AEW Dynamite last night, or at least the most intriguing part of AEW Dynamite last night. So definitely things need to change. And like I said, it was probably one of the worst episodes of Dynamite that I have ever seen since AEW has been around. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.